Hi everyone, my name is Mike Bryan. I'm happy to have here today Courtney Haug, who's our case manager. Thanks, Courtney, for doing this today.
You're welcome.
And if you've watched any other videos, one of the reasons why we're doing this is to help educate clients and understand who they're going to be working with. I think a lot of working with an attorney's office is the fear of the unknown. You're not quite sure what to expect. And so, today you're going to hear things from Courtney, who is our case manager, and she really deals with the heart of these cases when we're looking at estate planning and Medicaid and veterans benefits. So we'll talk about that here today. Well, Courtney, to start out, what's the best way for someone to get in contact with you?
Yeah, so the best way to contact me is, one is always by phone, and so a client can just contact, or a potential client can contact the office by calling 740-452-8484. And you can also email me. My email is chaug, which is HAUG, at swbwlawfirm.com, or contacting the office, they can always get that information to them as well.
And your role as case manager, when we've had our monthly case review meetings, it seems to vary between 160 to over 200 cases, and so case manager is an understatement, right? I mean, there's a lot.
It's kind of like air traffic control. I think that was the best way it was described at one point, where just got a lot of airplanes in the air, and you're just waiting for a flag and trying to figure out where that next direction's going to go.
That's right. That's right.
There's definitely a lot of movement.
Yeah, and that's and that role as case manager, it seems like if if we have a new client call in, I know lots of times they might be talking with Debbie initially to get the appointment set.
Yep.
But when they're speaking with you, typically that's after they've hired us for a case, right?
Yes.
And kind of describe what happens then. What's that first
normally
contact
after a client is they hire our office to assist their family or to assist them with their planning. They usually hear from me probably within about approximately a week after meeting with you, and we just kind of start the case from there. Depending on what kind of case the client comes to us for, will vary between the information of what I'm requesting. But a lot of it's, trying to figure out your designations and who you want to, assist with your estate planning and get you kind of through the process. And then after that, we just kind of, like I said, it depends on the case. I am usually the front person that individuals will contact, for questions. I'm usually the one that does signings, whether they're here at the office or at their homes or at facilities. I am the go-to when there needs to be discussion or questions about whatever plan they have, especially for those crisis cases. And we're dealing with the Department of Job and Family Services, or VA. And so, I really just kind of handle everything from the point of being hired right before we close the case.
Okay.
Pretty much that middle part.
That middle section.
Middle section, yeah.
So that first phone call that you have with a client after they've hired our office, again, that's where you're asking them who they want to have as their executive,
right.
Who do they want to have as trustee of their trust, who are the alternates going to be,
how they want their assets to be distributed upon death. Is there, especially when we're looking at like estate healthcare asset protection cases, where that's that 5-year look back plan that we do, that's where I'm looking at or asking them, what assets are you looking at protecting? What are you using? What are you not using? We kind of have those in-depth conversations about that.
And then if their case does happen to be what we kind of refer to as our crisis cases, where we're working with veterans benefits or Medicaid, that's where you're doing several things at that point. You're talking to the client to find out, okay, here's what we have, and then we're talking about what plan is going to make the most sense for them, what techniques we might use for VA or Medicaid to help get them qualified sooner rather than later. So you're helping coordinate that. I know our what we typically would call our gifting letter or gift and annuity letter, but it's that's really the steps that we're trying to have them take to get qualified for Medicaid or VA. So that's you're in charge of that, and really all the communication that you have with these entities. I know that the VA is pretty difficult to have a lot of information given to you there, but you're reaching out to them to check the status
Mm-hmm.
on cases.
Mm-hmm.
I know with Job and Family Services, that's a much different experience there. I mean, you're talking to the caseworker and seeing what other information they might need.
Right. Yeah, and I deal with, especially with those crisis cases, or what we refer to as crisis cases. If a case requires an annuity, for example, I deal with the company that we go through to obtain those annuities. And so then not only am I dealing with that entity, but then I'm also dealing with the annuity company, because it's kind of like that middle person.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yes, dealing with the Department of Job and Family Services. We deal with several counties. Actually, we could do all 88 counties in the state of Ohio, but our biggest focus is really here in southeastern Ohio. And so we have a really good relationship with a lot of those offices. I work with long-term care services or area agency on aging when we're talking about passport services or home health care, and assisted living waiver, which we are now happy in Muscatine County. We actually have an assisted living waiver facility now here in Muscatine County. So we work with those, and I work with the facilities a good bit, just to kind of determine, maybe what a client's cost of care is, what their level of care is, how can we get assessments and any documentation that we need to facilitate a new plan from there.
So chances are, if someone's watching this video and they maybe watched other videos where I've interviewed other admissions personnel at home health care, assisted living, nursing home care, you've probably talked to them. You probably work with them
yes.
pretty frequently, so I know you have a lot of contact
Yep.
with them. And you've heard me joke before, I think you probably know more than most attorneys do about this.
Right,
And so that's why I think your role, there's a lot there, and you've been doing this for a long time, and it's easy, and we'll catch each other doing this sometimes where we'll say things a little too quickly.
Yep.
And I think a lot of times for clients, it's a deer in the headlights feel initially, because this might be the first time they've heard anything about any of this.
I always tell them, one thing I always say, a lot of my clients, they've heard me say a lot of times is, it's clear as mud, right? Or we're going to have a quiz on this tomorrow and you're going to know all about it. But
there's a lot.
We're definitely a wealth of knowledge when it comes to it.
So this is true. So when our case is closed, it's not completely closed, right? We have the client care program. What's been your experience with that program?
So one good thing about the client care program that I really like is that it allows clients to be able to have access to us and not have to worry about being nickel and dime, so to speak. It's just like with any of our other plans, it's that flat rate price. And I feel like it gives them that sense of being able to, that we're always in their corner, that we're there. And so a lot of the times, even though the case is closed, but not closed, I have dealt with clients a lot, whether they just have questions, just simple questions about maybe they're moving an asset or they're selling real estate. Sometimes it's a simple change in their documents. Sometimes it's just the client care program or the seminar that we offer every year. They come there and I talk with them there. And I just think it's a really good program that allows us to stay connected and continue that relationship with our clients.
And, especially if it's a Medicaid or Veterans Benefits case where they're getting those random notices that come in that are not user-friendly at all. I know you're helping clients understand what those mean too.
Yes, and especially for those, our crisis cases, that plan allows them, or that program allows them to, we continue to do the re-enrollments, and we continue to deal with the Department of Job and Family Services. Because I know even after you've dealt with them for a while, it can still be pretty daunting task, especially when you're trying to deal with not only the financial side, which we're taking over for them, but dealing with an ailing loved one, facilities, and then your own life. So
that makes sense.
Huge.
Well, so aside from your role here, I know that some potential clients might find this interesting too. Tell us a little bit about your background, family.
So I was born a military brat. My mom and dad are actually from southeastern Ohio in the Caldwell, Cumberland area here in Guernsey and Noble County. I was born in Colorado and moved back here when I was about 9 or 10. My dad's family is a farming coal mine family. My mom's family is a coal mine family. I married into a truck driving family, so we're all blue collar, and so that's pretty much my background, and all of us are from the southeastern Ohio area. I have 2 kids. Jessica just turned 24, and she works here locally at the Muskegon County Prosecutor's Office. And then Mac, my youngest, just graduated high school and just got a big boy job, and so we're really excited. We're getting ready to become empty nesters in my house.
All right.
I've been a 4-H advisor for 20 years in Guernsey County and have a little hobby farm at home, and that kind of takes up my spare time, so to speak.
All right. Well, so one last thing I wanted to ask you, because I think that, yeah, if someone's watching this video, again, they're not
Right.
quite sure what to do yet. What's your best piece of advice for someone who's not sure if they want to have a conference or look into this any further?
What they want to do? Yeah, I think the biggest piece of advice that I could give anybody is that, especially depending on where you're at with your cases or your situation, especially when you're looking at those crisis cases, is that there is hope. That there are people out there that we have answers that are going to allow you to be able to protect assets, reduce your risk of estate recovery. How can we make sure that your spouse isn't destitute? Everybody hears all these horror stories about you just got to spend everything down and we're gonna, take everything and you're not gonna have anything. And, especially in this area, like I mentioned, I come from this background as well. We have a lot of blue collar families in this area that work really, really hard for what they have. And just to have that peace of mind to know that there is something that we can do to help protect those assets. Any of those veterans that are out there, whether you may be able to apply now or you may not, there's benefits available to them that they might not even realize that are available. If you're looking at something where maybe you've had a scare within your family or a loved one or a friend, and you think, oh my gosh, do I even qualify? What are my options are now, even though I'm not sick? Just knowing that, just make that phone call, and let our team guide you in what we would be able to do for you, because there are options out there, and it's not hopeless, and we can try to relieve some of that pressure that you're feeling on that side of it.
Another way to look at it is ignore what your friends and neighbors have told you about this.
Absolutely, yes.
I think we've heard that many times.
Yes.
My neighbor said I couldn't do this or that, and they find out they actually could.
Yes.
So, well, I think that's really good advice for folks looking at this. So, so for everyone out there watching today, I thank you for taking the time to do this. I wanted you to see, who you'd be working with, and Courtney is a huge part of our team, and again, she's our expert, if you will, at the Medicaid and VA side of things, and certainly skilled in the estate planning arena as well. So I like to put a face with the voice you might be talking to. So again, thanks for doing this so much today.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it, and for everyone out there watching, thanks for watching.